You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I can do those things because I'm not a hero. I'm whatever Gotham needs me to be.
They'll hunt you.
You'll hunt me. You'll condemn me. Set the dogs on me. Because that's what needs to happen. Because sometimes the truth isn't good enough. Sometimes people deserve more. Sometimes people deserve to have their faith rewarded.
I promised someone that I loved very much that I would never go back to being that person. But for you, I'm going to make an exception.
All right. You know what? Normally I take debates and I don't take them personally. Okay. Normally I don't. And I've made a promise to myself and other people that I would try not to intellectually take things personally. And like I said, normally I don't. But as he said, an equalizer. For you, I'm going to make an exception. So today, Sergeant Willie Pete, I'm going to make an exception. Normally I don't call you out. Normally I try to keep it calm. And I try to keep it as unemotional as I can. Look, fucking Nimnot, okay? The example I gave about the Guatemalan woman and her man and the dirt floor and where they lived is not about their material condition. It's about her behavior. And as a fucking scientist, you know that if you control for conditions, you can see what the innate behavior is and what the exact example is. To say that it costs money, you have to pay the cost to be the boss to get a certain kind of behavior out of a woman or out of a person is not fucking true. How do I defeat your fucking argument, which is what you're upset about? Is by saying that a person that doesn't have anything, a woman that doesn't have anything, is more feminine, more submissive, more agreeable than a woman that is living in $1 million mansion. I don't even have to explain it. Look, your mother is an example of that. Your mother's not poor. She didn't grow up poor. She's got a PhD. Your father has a master's. You're in a upper middle class neighborhood. Your mother is not submissive. She's not a submissive type. Why is she not? Because she was never raised to be. She doesn't come from a tradition of submissive women. How do I know? I'm black. My mother's from Louisiana. My father's from Texas. On both sides of the aisle, they're not submissive. I've got very rich people around me. Okay. I went to upper middle class school. I'm not even named the name of it, right? Upper middle class school. A lot of stars and athletes came out of that school. Most of the kids that I was around were actually stars. I was talking to my grandson. Maxine Waters' daughter was in my homeroom class in 10th grade. So was Ike and Tina Turner's kids. So was Ray Charles's son. These are upper middle class, rich people, rich women. They were not submissive. Neither were their mothers. Money doesn't matter. They still carried the same traits that my lower class chicks on the other side carried, as far as being aggressive, as far as being loud. And guess what? The white kids that didn't have as much money as they didn't carry the same kind of trait. It's how you're raised. It's how you're cultured. What's being passed down as far as culture is concerned. As a scientist, you should know that. You should be able to compare the two. Okay, this one has money. She's aggressive. She's loud. She's not feminine, or she's not as feminine as this one over here that doesn't have anything. So what does that mean, Sergeant Willie Pete? It means this culture has a bigger, more weight on your behavior than money does. Jewish women are rich. They're aggressive. They have bankers, Jewish bankers. They have aggressive females. I've been around very wealthy women that live in big ass mansions in Los Angeles who held their kids. The place where their kids lived in their backyard was bigger than 2 of my houses. Okay, that's how big their house was. She was just as aggressive and loud as every other black woman. Has nothing to do with money. Has what to do with culture and what's been passed down. That's how come they culture their kids in Jack and Jill. And this is 150 years of breeding, 150 years of culture that's been passed down. Money didn't have anything to do with it. If that was the case, then hell, every drug dealer that carries some weight that made $200,000 a year is going to have a feminine woman. Don't work that way. Nicki Minaj is not feminine. All the futures baby mamas are not feminine. Has nothing to do with it. Money doesn't have anything to do with how the behavior of the woman, how she's raised, how she's cultured, how her mother teaches her is more important than anything else. Most of the women here have been taken over by intersectional feminism. And the black women who have never been tied to their men because of our slavery experience that's still with us, you can't spend your way out of that. You cannot spend your way out of that. You know that. You're a fucking doctor. If that was the case, you have enough money to actually pay for a feminine woman. But if she's not that way when you meet her, guess what? All the money in the world is not going to turn her into that. So you use an example out of, number one, out of fucking context. And number two, you're too dumb to realize, motherfucker, I gave you a fucking winning hand. Because when the bitches come at you with a goddamn thing about they have to rest in their femininity, a la Crystal Karazin, who was raised down the street from where my fiance grew up, because that's how come I know the tone. In fact, they sound alike. So I know when she spits that you got to rest in your fucking feminine to change your attitude, I know that's bullshit, because I know where she's raised. There's a very distinct reason why people do what they do. There's a very distinct reason why when our women got a chance to be away from us and skip trace away from us, they bounced. No matter how they're raised, now how much money you put in, you gave them more money, they leave. There's no thing about it having a cost to be a boss. There's nothing to do with it. A patriarchy, as we know it, has nothing fucking to do about goddamn money or even resources. The way you organize people. Goddamn poor-ass Korean shop owner in Korea has more patriarchy than we do in the United States. I don't care how much money you make, because the culture enforces that. A shop owner in the Middle East has more patriarchy than you do in the United States, because the culture enforces that. You don't have patriarchy because you haven't had one for 200 years. Me and Green Gorilla actually looked at it and found out you don't have a patriarchy. So trying to say, when you try to call what you call a patriarchy in the United States is bullshit. Now, let's get to the last part, because you went way overboard and read way into my giving you an example about how you analyze things, how you defeat arguments without paying the fucking cost to be the boss. It didn't take $1 million or $2 million or $100 million or $1 billion to defeat a fucking argument, okay? All it takes is a little elbow grease. A little elbow grease, and they basically, the society has given you a platform and a microphone to get your ideas out. You don't have to be on a university lecture tour to get your ideas out. All you need is a YouTube channel and a Twitter account. Let's call it an efficient use of your resources. Resources are already built in. How do you change a narrative? The narrative has already been changed. Okay? It didn't take $100 million to change the narrative. All it took is the right conditions and a little luck. We didn't pay Kevin Samuels $100 million to change the fucking narrative. The right conditions, a little luck with the right conditions and the right message changed the whole fucking narrative. We flipped the whole board on its edge. Instead of 50 years and $1 trillion that went into feminism and went into intersectional feminism that the United States has spent on black women and women in general, you flip it on its head with the right message, a YouTube channel, and a Twitter account. All you have to do is get the right message. The resources are already there. How do you make the most efficient use of your money and your time, especially when you don't have it? If you got $1 billion, we're actually going to take more than that. It would for you to actually overturn the black community and make it into what you want to make it into, what your little Wakanda is going to take $2 trillion. Do you have it? You got $2 trillion? Anybody can muster up $2 trillion. If you do, call me. I will personally fly to fucking Philadelphia and apologize to you on my knees. Okay? Apologize to you. Motherfucking Sergeant Willie Pete, you are fucking right. But if you ain't got the money, you ain't got $2 trillion, hell, you ain't even got $2 billion, how do you effectively do what you need to do today with the tools that you have? That's what I believe in. You want to wait 3 generations until we can actually do it. Oh, we got to pay the cost to be the boss. How long is that going to take? If it actually works. You take, just like any good offense, any good defense, right? If you've played any sport, and I don't think you really have, okay? You take what the offense or defense gives you. The best offensive team, football team, basketball team, baseball team, I don't care what sport it is, the best ones championship teams exploit with the weakness of the defense. You take what it gives you. That's how the Rams won the Super Bowl. Cincinnati wasn't going to let them run. You couldn't run on them. They put 8 people in the box. Can't run. Your best receiver is hurt. They force you to go to the last remaining receiver, and you got to march down the field for 2 scores to win a Super Bowl. Now you can continue to run like they did 2 years before and lost the Super Bowl, or you can take what the defense gives you, and they did. They won a Super Bowl. You take what the defense gives you. The one good thing about going up against black women, especially black women in this society, in the section of feminism, is that they're not smart. They go by feelings. They go by emotions. And as long as you play that game thinking that you're going to spend your way out of it, guess what they're going to do? They're going to exploit you because it's never enough money. Now, I have no problem with you getting rich. I have no problem with you getting rich. I have no problem with anybody making any money or becoming that $100 million person. Okay. I know a couple of $100 million people. They work hard, a lot of luck, in the right place at the right time, and they made the right decisions. No shade on them. But how do you move a movable rock? Supposedly. And the answer is you can't. But as a scientist, because you did science shit, you should know. Under the right conditions, you can move that rock. You get the right conditions and the right equation and the right tool, you can move that rock, no matter how big it is. And that's what you look for. The rock can be moved, especially now. White supremacy can be moved, especially now. And if you were smart enough, you could see it coming. And I think you're smart enough. Take the stethoscope out of your ears for a second and look around. I would love to call you dumb, but I know you're not. So I'm going to say you're misinformed. But I can tell you, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, Nimnot. You don't. It's like I've been talking the same shit for 15 years and the rock is still in the same place. I've been on this side of the wall for 7, and you can see the advancement. Kevin Samuels is just one of them. Yes, he's just one. There's others that you can't even see that are forming. The rock is being moved 1 inch at a time. The immovable rock that you think that you can't move 1 inch at a time. Okay, as far as black men and black boys, because the women I don't even care about because they don't even matter. You're worried about trying to have a patriarchy with black women. Either they agree to it or they don't. You're trying to take matriarchal gynocratic women that have been gynocratic for 150 years and within, because you think you can actually spend some money, you can turn them into what? Patriarchal women or patriarchal leaning women in less than a generation? Are you high? Are you high? The only reason the women in Latin America act the way they do, or they're feminine comparatively the way they are, is because they had thousands of generations of acting that way. They're Native Americans. They act that way. They've been acting that way. That's their tradition. Just like the Filipino women, right? Say Filipino women actually cook because it's no big deal. Why? Because they've been trained to since they were 2 years old. That's their tradition. Has nothing to do with resources. I know women, God, I ain't gonna talk about it. Women that they're in my family. I'm not gonna mention who they are because I'm not gonna call them out. Got tons of resources. They came from wealth, 2 generations of wealth. Married a couple of ballers. She's not submissive, not even close. Has absolutely nothing to do with money. If it had something to do with money and resources, we'd still be slaves, or we'd be exported, or even worse yet, we'd be in freaking gas chambers. Has nothing to do with money. Message, timing, action. Using the resource, using what you have. You got every man in America has resources. You know, the bum on the street has resources, has access to them because you're in America, not out in the middle of the woods. Using the material that you have in front of you. And learning how to use that material efficiently is what gets things done. Anyway, that's all I got for this one. I'm going to jump off here. This is BJ Sutton. I will see you guys on the next one.